Hey, we made it, Jaymi.
Oh my God, right?
Holy cow. Yes.
Oh
Honestly, I think we need to record all the pre-show antics because those alone make a great blooper reel
my
because
God. Yeah. Right. I'm sitting here going, yeah, I love the fact that you're at a place where you have a couple of different computer mices,
yeah.
and you grab the wrong one. But then I'm sitting there going, no, because some of my pre-show routine is belching, getting my throat warmed up, and like all the, sinus stuff. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jamboree.
We're back.
I'm Jaymi. This is Amber. And yeah, we're back. Oh
We
my
have
God.
missed chatting about the things that we enjoy and laughing and hey, Callie. And we
Hey.
miss. We have just missed doing this and
Yeah.
sharing. And we have gotten together quite a few times, going, we should be talking about this on a jamboree. So here we
Or
are.
or we need to record this. How do we want to record it? And yeah, we're back.
So we figure we're just going to dive in and run with it.
Here's me and
So
my
we'll be
snorkel here.
talking about, yes, we'll be talking about books that we are into and enjoy, and not just necessarily divination or tarot related books. We will be talking about decks that we like, tarot, oracle decks, all sorts of divination we're going to be talking about. And we're going to be getting into the things that really, really feed Jaymi and I. Fountain pens, cryptids, fountain pens, UFOs, and fountain pens, and all things paranormal, high strangeness, and that I just want to eat that. I
Yeah.
want to eat that
And
pen.
and fountain pens and journals. And yeah, last October, Amber converted me back to the fountain pen lifestyle. And as a lefty, it can get kind of rocky. So for those of you that are lefties, I'm happy to tell you all the stuff that I've learned and show you my collection of things that work for me. So yeah, it's so
Yeah,
exciting to be back and to
totally worth
broaden
it. Totally
because
fun.
yeah, divination is a big part of us though. That I will say, at least for me, it's a huge part of my spiritual practice, my magical practice, my creative practice. But we're so much more. So we just, it's going to be fun to be able to talk about these things like cryptids or like our anthropological love of, dead languages or Egyptology or other, cool things that are going on. So I'm excited.
Yeah, because there's so many things that you and I watch, and we'll be watching something on YouTube, and we'll text each other like, "Oh, have you seen this?" And
This one, yeah.
yeah. Like Jamie's was on a bend for a while, and I think she still is, of watching volcanoes online, which is
Yeah.
pretty fascinating, and just talking about all the tectonic plates and the shifts, and um, yeah.
Volcanoes are cool, y'all. They are just they fascinate me. Especially we've got one off the Pacific coast here in Oregon that's only like 300 miles away. And it's the Axio Seamount. That's the name of this thing, the Axio Seamount. And it's supposed to be going off again, but we're not going to feel it. It's the weirdest thing. Like it went off in like 2017 or 2018 or something. I don't remember hearing anything about it. But then again, I also don't have TV and all that. And I wasn't as much into YouTube, or I didn't even see it on the socials when I was on that. Another fast fact, I love social medias. But yeah, I love socials. But yeah, it's fascinating that we have this weird, legit volcano underwater that is connected to like the mantle, and we never get to really feel it. It's bizarre.
It's
It's so
fascinating.
cool. It's
And I
so
remember we
cool.
both were watching. It happened to be you got me into
Mhm,
watching one of them on the same night that
mhm.
off the coast of Alaska there was, excuse me, off the coast of Russia there was an earthquake,
Yeah.
undersea earthquake, and I happened to be at a place where I was by the water,
Mhm.
and we were put on alert for possible tsunami or extremely bizarre high tide things happening. And I'm in Washington State, and not necessarily so much close to the where you would think that that would make a difference. I was in a little harbor area, but that's still that's still salt water. That's still the Puget Sound, and
It's still the rise of the tides
yeah,
and
to have
everything.
to, to be thinking about that from something that was so far, just fascinating. Absolutely. Everything was fine, by the way, but
Yes.
fascinating, fascinating. And I think that's what all of these things and being able to kind of break down more and share with
Hmm.
everybody the things we love, those individual pieces. I think that's what kind of drove us to decide that the first kind of tool we want to talk about is tarot disassembled, right? Because we have just disassembled and just broken down all these little bits of ourselves that we want to share.
Yeah.
And what happens when you break all that stuff down? It's the symbology of everything, right? And so
Hmm.
that encompasses, that encapsulates tarot disassembled. And when Jaymi and I realized that I have the newer edition and Jaymi does also, but Jaymi also has the original Kickstarter edition
Yes.
of it. So what a fascinating and fun thing to do is to explore the changes between the two,
Hmm.
because even like in the one I have is the one that's put out by Weiser. This is the guidebook for it, which is separate from the deck.
And this is the
And
guidebook from the original.
yeah, there we go. See, here we go. So there's some
You can already
similarities.
tell. You can already tell
Similarities.
there's some
That's it.
changes, like
Yeah.
size. Yeah, size
Yeah.
matters and stuff. But I guess should we get into it?
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
One of because even Jennifer in the guidebook in the Wiser edition talks about how there were significant changes between the two, and so much of that was because not just what she learned between designing the
Hmm.
first one, designing the second one, but how much more she learned about tarot itself in between those times, and
Yes.
what what a beautiful way to approach the fact that that's the beauty of tarot, is that it never ends. We're always learning. There's always something
Yep.
new about it. So, all
Yeah.
right, I'm going
As
to let you
somebody
take it
that's
from here
okay.
because
Yep.
carry on.
I'm
You
going to
got it.
add one more thing. As somebody who has written over 20 little booklets for Lo Scarabeo, it's ever changing. Like I look at designing decks as world building. Like if you think about fiction, the world of fiction story is contained in that's, you have to build that up. You have to make it the laws, the rules, imaginable, believable. Even if it's fantasy, romantasy, whatever you like, you have to buy into that world. And so that's what I try and do with the tarot decks. And what I love about having both of these, first off, I disclaimer, we got the Weiser editions from Weiser themselves. They graciously gifted us review copies of both the deck and the book. And I know I got just the deck first, which is in a nice little blue tuck box. And if you get just the deck, there's no book. So, which does a couple of interesting things that I'll get into later. But I requested the guidebook because, as Amber and I had showed previously, I have the Moon edition of the first edition Tarot Disassembled. So this was originally kickstarted in 2021 by Jennifer Steidley herself, Jennifer Cooper Steidley. Pardon me. I know her as Jennifer Steidley or Jen, but I'll try and keep some of the or I don't know. But yeah, she made $66,835,000 on Kickstarter between 879 backers. So it was an impressive deck in its own right of how. Yeah. Whoa, yeah, see, even the puppers agree. Yeah, go pups. Somebody's probably at the door walking by. Um, the deck itself has almost no human representation, which gave her the freedom to do a couple of things with this, with both editions. And here's the boxes for comparison. It allowed to people or the readers or the users, the learners, to connect free from gender, race, body types, etc. Those things. And I kind of agree. As a queer person, to me, it's important to find tarot representations that kind of take gender out, take race out, take the body types of femme and masculine, and make it generic or different so that we don't have a binary, that focal binary into the deck. Because while we used to have, at least in tarot, that binary. We're now opening it up, recognizing it. And I love this idea of symbols, just symbols being, whatever you connect with. So they're having just the symbols down is so important to learning and to developing your own language with the cards, or the cards telling you, hey, these are the symbols, or the most common symbols on a standard pack of Waite-Smith or Rider Waite-Smith, depending on how you call it. So there are a couple of cards, the ones that have to show a human that is central to the symbolic representation of the card, things like the Hanged One or the Hanged Man, where the upside down figure with their feet, trying to make a 4 here, but I can't, with my arms, doing that numerical 4, cross leg pattern, that is central to the meaning of the card. And so, yep, here we go. In this case, the Hanged One has, she used the wooden figures, that the mannequin figures that you can find in art supply stores, like Blix. Literally, I was in Blix the other day and they had one, and I almost, I've always wanted one, but I don't really need one because I don't figure draw. So Jennifer herself also comes from a graphic design background.
Mm-hmm.
She's always had a love of symbolism. She's always had a love of how do I create meaning from making book layouts or, posters, covers, all that stuff that she has come in from. So this deck allowed her to combine her passion of that symbolic language and how do I do it with tarot? And the impetus for this deck came from her partner, her husband, and her son at the time, who was constantly taking apart things, disassembling computers, sandwiches. She uses sandwiches in the Weiser guidebook edition, but they would take things apart. So they would disassemble things. And she's like, how cool to learn a device like a computer through its parts. And she's like, well, what else can I apply this to? And then that's where Tarot Disassembled came from. The original has a tuck, or the box is magnetic close with a bunch of different quotes in it, like a greeting and then other quotes on the side, like here's Pablo Picasso. And it's also got her information on the back. So, and there are 400 GSM cardstock, which is very, very thick. Laminate matte with petal soft finish and red on the sides. So some of the first differences that we'll show you is that the backs here have a white border around all these, the primary symbols for the back, whereas the Weiser edition is two things. Number one, there is no white border, and number two, the green grapes here are now purple. So she was able to add on a new color to the Weiser edition that is very much different than the original. The original also had two tuck boxes. I got the black box, which is known as the Moon edition, but there was a yellow box that matches the cover of the guidebook, and this was called the Sun edition. So people could pick their favorite color. The guidebook itself has 151 pages. It's very slim. However, because Jennifer has designed books and everything, it's got margins, really thin margins on everything. So you could kind of see there that, it's about, I would almost call it either a quarter of an inch, like 0.5 or 0.25 away from the pages. But it does almost go.
It's about 50 pages more.
Yeah.
You can see the difference in the typeset and the layout.
Let me get straight to that's funny that you pulled up Judgment, and I was on the backside of Judgment. So here you can kind of see a difference between Judgment and Judgment, the two different volumes. So this is, you might say, well, that's slim, and the Weiser is, seems more, but it's all in the layout, really is. And I will say that the Weiser edition has expanded. So I'll get to that in a moment, but the sections in the tradition, or the indie version, as I'll start calling it, is that guidebook has intro, exercises and spreads, a glossary of common symbols, and then it goes into all the card meanings. So like I had just showed you, it has all that stuff. Now, like I said, I had to ask Weiser for this because they package these two separately. The downside is that this does not have like a quick start guide in it. It's just the deck, which is good in some ways for intermediate to pro level people who are like, I really am not sure I need the guidebook. But if you're a beginner, and originally I've actually, with this deck, all of my beginner friends, I tell them, or beginner students, clients and everything, I tell them to get a copy of this deck because it, as you see, it has all the symbols straight from the Waite Smith. And I also tell them to get a Waite Smith deck, whether it is, one of the many clones available. And I forgot to grab the deck. I have a deck in my desk, so that's why I'm scrolling back. Like, I have a pocket universal weight here that, you can actually compare. So you can actually see the two together. Whoop, and there goes two of the cards, or there goes my magician, but you can actually see the two and kind of, look at them and see, well, these are the major symbols on the Fool. And you can do a guided flip through of everything. And that's kind of what I did last night to refresh the changes on the two the two copies. So this is good in of itself, but if you're a beginner or just starting out, or knows somebody that's just starting out and has wants to know more in depth about the symbols, you'll need this beefy little guidebook.
Right. And being someone who's not a beginner, when I first got this deck and, didn't have a guidebook with it, I was just like, oh, okay, cool. But I didn't get it. I didn't understand it until I got the book. Yeah. And it's not that I didn't understand the symbology. I was just kind of missing the boat on how the why. Yes. So once I had that piece, it did make a difference for me.
So I will say this. I understand why they did them separate, because this does stand alone. This 100%. Is made to be a standalone guide for those that may or may not want the deck, but want to know more about the symbology. So this is really a good guide for any deck, any cards that kind of is that Waite Smith or Waite Smith format for you to learn symbology from. So I get why it's separate, but I really want, and hey, Weiser, if you're listening, definitely bundle these two together. Make a bundled package.
Have the option.
Have the option of buying them separate and together, because that's the power. It's really the power. I taught a class at one of our Oregon libraries a couple of years ago, and I even suggested that they buy this deck. So they have a copy of the indie version on their shelves for their patrons. They have a lot of libraries are getting tarot decks in for borrowing or renting or playing around with. And so stuff like this is perfect for that, because it's an additional tool. Maybe not, you can almost call this a flashcard system in a way to learn tarot.
Yeah. One of the things that really got me about the guidebook is that in each card, it goes through the description and talks about the symbology, the significant symbology of each card. But she then also, besides like the regular interpretation and a reversal, she has these quick takes, right? These quick take section. And that it gives you like a possible scenario. It gives you a possible situation and possible actions that you can take. And as a beginner, those are huge, very helpful. But even, as a seasoned reader, having something to like quickly go to for a guide, or if you're stuck or you're really looking to try to think of what to give your client for homework or suggest for them to do or to process, right? It has. So this would be, so 4 of Cups. The quick take is saying no to opportunities that aren't in alignment with your purpose, turning down invitations and opportunities, ignoring what's right in front of you, double check the details, too much of a good thing, feeling sorry for yourself, now is not the time, meditating on what is best choice for you, and taking a social media break. So there, so it gives you the situations. Hey, these things might be going on, and this is what an action step that you can take. All right, to initiate, whatever change, or to initiate that positivity, or step into the support and the archetype of that card, beyond just guide words, right? The key words and the guide words.
No, I'm
So
just kind of looking.
like I said, for a beginner, that's hugely helpful. And as a seasoned reader, what a great way, because there are times that any of us just get stuck on a certain reading.
Oh, yeah.
And to be able to just have another tool that's easy reference to help you get past that and try to be able to help your client the most is invaluable.
What's funny is that after you just read the quick takes, I mean, I'm reading along here in the Four of Cups from the original. In this book, all these little highlighted or the italicized things like feeling bored with life, those are the reversals, which
Right.
at first I wasn't sure were in this book because, looking through it, but yeah, she actually broke them out. So that's another thing about this book, is that it's got some clarification. Like, I'm not even sure what, I guess this is for the tower. The reversed is, down here, it's been broken out from that quick take section. So it's got a little bit more guidance in design wise to kind of like read your eye. And this book does have some expansions, because I went through and I looked at many of the entries, and it all has, it has similar stuff to this in format, but this has some areas that are updated. This has a new foreword from Teresa Reed, aka the Terror Lady. So there is some differences that expands upon and makes this a much more awesome reference and guidebook, again, which is why I'm glad that she has in here that this can be used as a standalone book. However, I do wish that they would have made a packaged, kit for those that want both, But she added, in the new one, she added 13 new symbols, 13 to 14 new symbols in it. And the deck now, like I said earlier, it features a purple color. Regarding the color, I wished she would have had added a quick color chart just to talk about what colors she used and how she saw them as. Because when you're flipping through and you see all these great colors, for example, the Two of Pentacles here, you can see certain things. And when you flip through to the new deck, some of those colors have changed. And so I really would have liked to have actually seen some of those changes actually described in, like, color yellow is this in this deck, and, or something. So I really wish that there had been like a generic key to just kind of like state, this is why, something. Of course, I picked a card that doesn't have, the changes in them. But, this gives you an idea. They are the same size. The corners on the indie are a little bit different, rounded, because if you hold them up together, you literally see.
And I think in the indie the edges are red and they're yellow.
Yeah, the indie's red, and you can also tell because the border on the back.
The border, yeah.
Yeah, this one has a border, the other one doesn't.
One of the things that I do like about how she broke down the symbology, because I really had to understand, well, okay, are these the symbols that jumped out of each card for Jennifer?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that probably, because this would be my process, that would be how the deck started, right?
Yeah.
What symbols jump out for me, and I'm going to play with those. But then you do that little bit of research and the learning, which is never ending in tarot, as is many things.
Mm-hmm.
That I really feel she did do a fantastic job of pulling out all the symbology of the cards, to the point where I feel like there are certain things on cards that people maybe overlook. Like, okay, so I'm looking at the Seven of Cups right now.
All right, let me.
I think a lot of people, forget about the clouds, or they might forget about the snake or that draped veil, and because that might not be what first jumps out in them in a traditional look at the cards.
This is the indie version. So if Amber, I'll have her hold up the Weiser, and I'll look for the indies. But as you can tell in the indie, it's a little darker printing. And something else I noticed is that in the indie, you get these little spots on occasion. Like if you look at these cups, you see kind of right through to the back, but Weiser have them all colored in. So it's more
And
of a
almost that gives another layer of reading between the two cards, which I think is very interesting.
yeah. I mean, and again, like I said, she added 13 new ones. So if you could just pull out your Fool card, because this is what I noticed right away when I got this deck. So here's the Fool card from the Weiser edition. Here's the Fool card from the Indie. There is no wheel. There is no eagle. So these are some of the new things that either she wanted to put in or wanted to connect to other cards, where the wheel actually connects that idea to the Wheel of Fortune, and the eagle came from, the satchel, which she has the satchel on the original, but the eagle itself, through either classes or people she had talked to, maybe have told her, why didn't you put the eagle on there? Because the eagle itself is also important to have.
Right.
So there's this addition. I know that another big card, and the hold it up again, and the sun rays are also different on both cards. So the sun rays are oh my god, the word just failed me. So we have asymmetrical rays, but they're all symmetrical on the new Weiser deck. So she does kind of talk a little bit about that. The sun card itself has changed, whereas she had maybe two. Let me find it. The petal finish on these cards gives it a little bit of a waxy flavor, but it's nice. But on the original, you get two sunflowers, and I think she used that second sunflower for the child. In the sun card, as you can see up at that top right corner, it has baby shoes. Now, shoes have been used in the indie deck to indicate people's feet or children, or, especially the tiny ones. So I love that in the Weiser, she went back and revised the sun to include the shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the Weiser edition also kind of standardized the symbology in the deck. So shoes are used for specific people or items, especially children, throughout the cards, which leads me to another change, because in the guidebook, remember how I said that it had a glossary of common symbols? So it starts out here with angel and talks about shows all the cards that show an angel or have angelness to it, and kind of a generic, what does angel symbolism actually mean? So it kind of goes a little bit into that. However, in the new one, because she expanded upon things and the formatting's different, they just decided to do an index of symbols. And they tried to put in all the, like a textbook. Oh, you want to look at angel? Angel appears on page 177, 179, 217, 221, 260, page 39, and 74. However, I did notice something. There are two different children sections. One just says child and has page 171. There's also a child as represented by small shoes in 200 and 252. Now, I'm a tech writer by trade. That's how I cut my teeth. And I look at this and I'm like, you're missing one. Where's the sun? The sun appears literally in the beginning of the book. It has, just two, it's just, trying to find it. It's on page 91, where it starts talking. So why isn't it on that,
Right.
And, they've skipped some stuff, and it's also inconsistent in some entries, like the snake entry, and I'll show this in a minute. It says snake. It's on page 183, page 42, page 58, and 164. So they're not consistent in how they, guide you through the book. Some of them, like this one, like stage starts at 149 and counts up and then goes down to 157. And others start at the low number, like wall 93 and 109. So it's, these little things that in my mind, that help you guide you as you're trying to use the book as a, as a independent object that I think could have been tweaked better. But there are things that I noticed as I was looking through both of them, and I do like I like the glossary for the indie version because that shows you the original power and how you could use this deck. You can use it as a symbology guide, or you can use it as a study guide for, um, comparing any, standard Waite-Smith stuff.
Right.
Yes, Jennifer Ball says that she loves Jen's decks.
Yeah.
She also has 2 other decks, and I don't have. And she did one called Tarot Reassembled, which she reassembles and does stuff. I don't have that one, but she also has this particular lovely beast, and this is the Mandala Tarot, which is like mandalas with the symbols in each card, which it's fun. It's a round deck too, but like as I went through, and I'll show up my notes, I actually took notes on all the changes that she did in the majors and how they changed. Like the Emperor, like there's color shifts on some symbols. Like if you look at the Emperor on both of them, you'll notice some, the shifts. So like here is the indie version of the Emperor.
Yeah, sure, you're gonna make me find that one now.
Did you shuffle your deck?
I did multiple times.
I kept both of mine, staged. But yeah, here's the Emperor, and as you can see, the chest piece of armor is blue in that one versus gray here, and then the mountain is blue on the indie, yet yellow on the mass market or Weiser edition. So again, that's why I wanted to see a color guide as to how she wanted to use colors, because if you get both of these decks, you're gonna be like, oh, well, that one was blue. Why is it yellow here? And I kind of know, just because of my knowledge of tarot, because I'm, the grand poobah of my tarot world, and I know that having a mountain yellow is kind of like more deserty vibe, which to me is more in line with the Emperor of being kind of structured, cold, rigid, and all that. But the blue, it's like, well, why was it blue in the indie? What was her thoughts for that? But yeah, as you go through them, you'll see changes, sometimes up to 3 or 4 different, symbols, the new symbols added. Like she actually goes more in depth with the cube on these cards. And it's also fun because one of her exercises is that when you shuffle your deck and you pull a card, she asks you literally to find at least 2 more cards. So, to have the same, and then you lay them down in the order you found them, and that becomes your reading. And you can use that to see how that cube changes throughout the meanings of everything. And it's really kind of fun. But purple doesn't really show up anywhere in the minors. So the purple color, which for me, purple is a color of spirit. And I kind of get that it kind of shows up in the majors mostly. It's not really in the minors at all.
Right.
Oh, good question. Jen asks, do you think it's advantageous to have both indie and mass market decks?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I wouldn't say that for every deck published. But for this particular deck, absolutely. And it's to see the progression, because like Jennifer talked about, she learned things about the tarot itself, going from that one to the Weiser edition. And I think that we can benefit from what she learned by going back to see where she was.
So Jennifer, this one, the one that I'm holding, you recognize this because you own the indie version. So this is the indie. This is the Weiser. Side by side, she's added, let me get my finger off. She's added some stuff to this card. Again, to reflect what Amber has said. You can also tell because card backs are different. The Weiser edition removed that white border. This one has red. This one has yellow edging. So here's the thing. The reason why I said maybe, it's because of the cost. You will have to buy the deck and the book separately. The book itself is $18.95 US. The deck is $24.95. That's why I say maybe. I mean, I have both, and it's been fun to do this, compare both of the decks at the same time. But cost effective for those that are strapped for cash, maybe not.
Right. And it's like I would, if the Weiser guidebook was in color,
Mhm.
I would suggest to people who had the indie deck to just buy the guidebook. But with the guidebook being in black and white, the colors are so important,
Mhm.
an important layer to this deck that I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But I also think that you could, because you have the indie deck and the book, I would almost say, Jennifer, you could get away with just getting the deck and not getting the book as well. In this case.
And this is why I would almost be like, maybe you'd want the book, because she does expand some entries in this book, because she adds those 13 to 14 extra symbols. You get those here. So it's like, yeah, you need them both in a way, to really have a full understanding of the transition and Jennifer's learning pattern from the 2021 first edition indie, which is the one I own, to the mass market Weiser version, which is expanded. I mean, it's definitely thicker, but the sizes of them to also be real. The mass market's just a quarter of an inch to half an inch larger and taller, and a little bit more on the side here. But page wise, you're like, ooh, this one's beefier. It's beefier only because it has different formatting and some expanded stuff. That's the only reason this is beefier, and a forward by Teresa Reed, the Tarot Lady. But this one shows the original intent to what Jennifer was going through and wanting to do. So again, it's yes, no. Personally, I because I don't like doubling up decks, I'm gifting a friend the indie version after we're done, here, because I like the cardstock in the mass market, which is on top, a little better. It's just a little bit thinner, which means it's more shuffleable for my hands.
It's a flat matte finish, and I'm going to do the ASMR so you can hear the.
And this is the other one. I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah, it's like nothing. Yeah, because it's just the difference of the cardstock.
Yeah,
so
and
it doesn't have that wonderful like rose petal finish feel.
Yeah,
but that soft matte, there's something to me that the texture of in the mass market version,
it makes it easier to shuffle.
The way that this deck is constructed.
Yeah. And it makes it easier to shuffle, though, because, I mean, here's, again, the indie. It's kind of weirdly sticky, which is good. If you, like, look at that. I can basically push them together. But with the mass market, they slide better. And again, it's just a little bit different cardstock.
Yeah, Jennifer said most of the time if she has the indie deck, she doesn't get the mass market. However, this one sounds worth it to her.
It's cool. So, like, I at one point have owned or have copies of all three of Benabel Wen's deck. I can't remember the name because of course not.
The Spirit
Brain
Keepers?
fog. Yeah, the Spirit Keepers. Thank you. I always get hers and Chrysanth's, the light seers and the Spirit Keeper mixed up. And so the Spirit Keeper. I have the first edition Spirit Keepers, which is the black and white version, which I like to call, if I need to learn about my good friend Benabel's spiritual history and how she grew up, her culture, etc., you want that first one. The second one is her like outer views, trying to put what she learned, the heart, the as within, so without. And that's what the second one is. It's like that, so without. The third one is what I would consider the it's not mass market, but the mass
It's
market,
for the
something
people.
for the people. It's that easier read. It's, like you don't need to, like, she published for her first one 3 different booklets: the little booklet that came within, the medium guide, and the big book. And I bought all those because, again, she wanted to give people at their level, do you want just a little snippet? But if you really want to know Belle, you want to, get that big book, but that third deck didn't need it because it was literally her trying to make a mass market out of her own stuff. So yeah, in the case of wanting to learn Jennifer's process and learning patterns, you get both because it's really kind of neat. And the thing that like caught me as I'm flipping through this again, the Weiser edition does kind of streamline Jennifer's symbology. It kind of makes it tighter in a weird way, even though it's not much has changed. You flip through and you're like, this is streamlined. The first one was like an alpha edition. Like, let's put it out there. Let's see how people are going to use it and test it and learn from it. And then this one is now okay, I've gotten feedback. I've learned some stuff. I'm adding an extra color and I'm adding more symbols and kind of streamlining how I want children to be represented, in the little shoes, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really kind of neat to see the changes and how, like, even just from, now I'm holding up the Magician and I've mixed some of the cards together because, of course, just looking at some of these cards, the color, the flatter changes. Like in the indie edition, you get like little bits of stamps and stuff, little holes and bits, or in some cases the colors don't pop. In the mass market, they kind of almost, in some places they pop a lot better, or they're more flat, so you don't get kind of this weird stamping vibe. Like the stamping vibe I'm talking about is like these little pockmarked stuff. So like on the
You see the texture in the ink.
Yeah, it looks more like it's exactly, a texture in ink. Or like here, the High Priestess. You don't see that cube, the cube of space on the indie version. You get it here, but it makes it, there's a difference. There's a vibe. There's a feel from one deck to the other, even though it's the same artist, the same thing. So and the other thing I liked about the Weiser is I'm almost going to start using this as a symbol deck. Like if I just want to read, almost like an oracle, if I want to read based off of the symbol, like pull a card randomly out of it, and I get the Two of Wands, and the first thing I noticed was the cloak, the cape. I can almost, think about what do cloaks and capes mean to me. It's fall, so I think of hoodies, cozy season, something to wrap, to hug around when times are tough. And that's nothing that belongs on a standard Two of Wands meaning.
Right.
But for me, that's all that it is. So it's also kind of weirdly expanded how moving away from the flashcard idea to, like, what are the symbols on these cards and what do they mean, kids? To here's how pros can really use it in a new, fresh way while still, seeing what does cozy and comfort in a hug mean in the Two of Wands. It's kind of this weird extra step. It deepens.
Right, and that's like I'm going to show you right here on the inside of the Weiser box, right? That quote from A.E. Waite. The true tarot is symbolism. It speaks no other languages and offers no other signs. So being able to look at, this is what happened to be right on the top of my deck right now, the Lovers, right? I can look at this card, and almost every time I look at it, a different one of those is going to pop out at me in a way that it wouldn't necessarily strike me in the a Waite Smith version.
Like at first it was the small fires that caught me, the ones that they put on the burning bush, burning bush burns. But then the snake popped out. And so, for me in my situations and stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Fire the passion. The little fires are small and there's a snake going on. But I wanted to also show the box has a blessing in the indie, which says, may these cards illuminate the shadows and lovingly guide you through the dark, much like the light of the moon. I also love this pattern she's got on the inside of the indie.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Jennifer, If you're watching or if I send this to you, make this a fabric because I'd love to have a custom bag made with this fabric. I think this would be awesome as
And
a
it's,
fabric.
you know, it's kind of interesting because they do a different stylized version of that as a wheel on the inside of the box of this one.
Yeah, the primary symbols are different. Like the tarot disassembled has this as kind of its mandala shape, whereas the top of the box kind of
Yeah.
makes it simplifies it or minimalizes it, but it's still in a more powerful way that you can grok some of the new changes, like the color of purple for the grapes, which are not on the top of this box, but yeah, they have that color separation in there. So it's fun to see how her stuff has changed, especially when you think about all the new stuff she's gotten into, like for me, the Sandala deck.
Yeah.
Because I look at Tarot Disassembled blue Weiser box and I think of that connection to the Sandala, which has, this is the backs of the Sandala. So it's almost like the Tarot Disassembled, both versions in a way, but this is a random pull. So I pulled the Ace of Pentacles. But as you can see, you've still got symbols, but now it's kind of more of a mandala. And then around the stuff, around the sides, you get astrological, you get the elemental, you get, what does that say? The Tree of Life and the activation. And I love this idea of an activation where, again, it's that spell added. And I have a fascination with round decks. So I'm going to do a mind map with this. This is my mind map project. When I read with it, I want to make a mind map. But going back to Amber's point, she did do color for the indie version of the Sandala deck. Now, whether or not Weiser or another mass market or big publisher picks up this deck remains to be seen. But again, she's got so many fun things to do. And yeah, I totally agree with Jennifer saying we need a Jenna Diaz of Moonlit Fae and a Jennifer Steidley bag deck
collab. Absolutely.
Heck yeah. Jennifer, Jenna of Moonlit Fae does amazing bags. Amazing. I got my felted tarot bag the other day, and yeah, love our community, man. Like Jennifer's great in classes. She does very creative, very hands-on, symbolic stuff, as well as like manifestation and magical empowering classes. And so if you ever get to go to a conference where she's teaching, definitely try and attend her classes. She's a treat, real treat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good, Jaymi. I'm so excited we got to chat again for a little while.
Yeah, thank you for letting me babble on. Like I said, I wrote, so I have a A6 journal here, and I wrote like 6 pages of notes to, do this because it was just so fun to have all 4 components, indie and mass market, together to really kind of like do this deep dive to see how the changes happened and the separations and stuff. And I mean, again, like you said at the beginning, this is what the Jamber'ee is all about, are these kind of these weird deep dives, the geeky shit that we get into and wanting to share with others. So
yeah, and like we stated at the top of the show, it's not just going to be tarot decks and tarot books. We're going to be diving into all sorts of the things that really get us excited, and including fountain pens. So that pen, man,
dude, yes, we are
pen.
Yeah, this is an Indian pen called company called Beena, Beena, and it's called the Magic. And when I got this for free at the Pacific Northwest Pen Show here in Portland, because somebody at our local pen group was giving them away. I didn't realize when I got it, I'm like, there's no nib in here, because usually the nib's already, out. And they said, no, you do this. And I went, this is free. I could take it. And I grabbed it so fast. It was not even funny. But yeah, this is the stuff that we want to show and bring and enable all of you either buy thank you, Jennifer, we did our job. We enabled somebody to, purchase, both copies. And we look forward to lightening your wallets later. No, or enlightening your minds as well.
Well, that's just it. It's enabling the thought and just enabling some fun chat. And thanks for Jennifer said she's going to go back and watch the beginning. Thank you. That's a big compliment.
That is right. We did our job. We're doing our job, and it's only one episode. Yeah. We plan on doing this about twice a month, just because our workloads and everything else we got going on outside of playing with stuff and buying new things and all that.
To play with the things.
Yes.
And to study the things.
And do our deep dives so that we can show you how to do all the deep dives. Oh, thank you, Callie. Yeah, we enjoy doing this, and we have, as you can tell, we have a lot of fun. So we're glad that you all are along for the ride and are willing to explore things with us.
Yeah, so stay tuned for our next date. I think do we have our next date in there? I think it's October. I think we'll be shooting for the first and third Mondays.
Yes, we were shooting for the first and third. Yeah, we were going to start earlier in September. However, I had friends from out of town show up, including a certain co-host here, so we couldn't really record that first day. But yeah, our next one, the first Monday, is the 6th. So we expect to do a live on the 6th and then one on the 20th if our lives align and the stars and Cthulhu allows us to, be present and technology and all that stuff.
Well,
yay, Jennifer!
Offerings and all will be good.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe that could be a fun one. Let's talk about offerings and magic and all that.
Sweet, we could do that. Yeah. So if you have suggestions, things like talk about, like we said, we're very anxious to talk about our paranormal meanings and our love of cryptids and
critters
and all things high strangeness. So yeah, feel free to drop a line. The best you can catch us, we have our websites. Mine is amberhighland.com. And then Jaymi, yours is?
I have two primary ones.
Inner Compass Tarot.
Yeah, I have Inner Compass Tarot, and I also have Shades of Maybe. Shades of Maybe is kind of my personal site where you can see all the works that I publish. My email, I have two. My primary email is from Shades of Maybe. It's Innowen, INNOWEN @shadesofmaybe.com. Or if you are a Googler, I still have innowen@gmail.com. So it's spelled the same, INNOWEN @gmail. So yeah, you can use contact Amber at her site, amberhighland.com, right? Or is it Amber dash? Okay.
No, it's amberhighland.com.
Yep, Amber Highland.
Catch us here. I have my Instagram, which is ancient_voices. And I'm also on Blue Sky, and that's under Amber Highland. So.
Yeah, I'm mostly playing on Mastodon. I have a friend who has a Masto site called wellduck.me. And so I'm there, but I also have a bridge over to Blue Sky. Please note that it just posts what I post. I don't know if it's posting what things I say or all like the shares that I do. So I don't check it. So I know that the Bridge app is trying to figure out how to, notify if I get a comment or something so I can, reply to it somehow. But yeah, I'm on Blue Sky as a ghost, so you can kind of see me. But other than that, I'm off social medias, and it's been kind of good. I've been happy with it. Obviously, I'm still on YouTube, and I also publish Card Slingers Coast to Coast, also twice a month, the first and third Fridays, with Melissa Sonova and Hillary Perry Haggerty, and they are also still on Instagram and stuff. But other than that, reach out to me.
Yeah, and I'm active on my blog, which is the Bloglet of Fire, and that's on blogger.com. And starting on October 30th, once a month, I'll be joining Rose Red on her podcast, Tarot Visions.
Yay! Awesome.
So you'll be seeing us around, and we look forward to including you on all these wild conversations and thought streams that we have. So I appreciate everyone being here, and we look forward to seeing everybody in October. So until then, stay healthy, stay weird, and have fun, everybody. Be happy.
Yep. Much love.
Bye.